Welcome to my channel. On a warm summer evening, everything changed. I had been married to Mark for nearly 10 years. From the outside, our life looked ideal, a lovely home, secure jobs, and a marriage that others admired. But appearances can often hide the truth. Over time, Mark grew more distant. His career became his sole focus, and I began to feel invisible. Our conversations dwindled to short exchanges about chores, finances, and schedules. Slowly, I started to feel like a guest in my own life, surrounded by a sadness I couldn't shake. It was during this period that I reconnected with Ryan, an old family friend. He had offered to help restore a classic car that had been sitting untouched in our garage for years, something Mark had long ignored. Ryan was thoughtful, quiet, and always ready to listen. He made me feel seen in a way I hadn't experienced in years. At first, our conversations were casual, weather, family, the car, but his presence brought a calmness I hadn't felt in a long time. I began to look forward to those brief chats that broke the monotony of my routine. One afternoon, while Mark was away on a business trip, I walked into the garage where Ryan was working. He noticed something was off and asked gently, "Are you okay, Emily?" His concern caught me off guard, and before I knew it, I opened up about how lonely I felt, how disconnected my life had become. Ryan listened without judgment. Then he said something that stayed with me. No one should feel invisible in their own story. That simple statement stirred something deep inside me. From then on, things started to shift. Ryan became a confidant, someone who made me laugh and reminded me of who I used to be. I began to cherish those moments, small as they were, because they brought light into my otherwise dull days. One evening, as the setting sun cast a golden glow across the garage, Ryan handed me a wrench and began explaining part of the engine. We laughed as I fumbled with the tool, but when our eyes met, there was a silence between us that said more than words could. A tension that was hard to define, yet undeniably there. I pulled back, my heart racing with confusion and guilt. That night, I couldn't sleep. Nothing had happened, but I knew something inside me had changed. My marriage was fading, and pretending otherwise wouldn't change that truth. In the days that followed, I made the choice to create some distance from Ryan. It wasn't about him, it was about me. I needed to understand what I truly felt and why. The truth was, I wasn't upset with Ryan. I was disappointed in myself for letting my life drift so far from what I had once hoped for. Eventually, I stood at a crossroads. My marriage had become an empty shell, but walking away from something so familiar was terrifying. Ryan didn't have all the answers, but he reminded me of what I had been missing: connection, laughter, and a sense of purpose. One evening, I finally opened up to Mark. I told him how I had felt invisible, neglected, and utterly alone. That conversation was one of the hardest of my life, but also the most honest. Sometimes the hardest truths are the ones we need to face to move forward. My marriage didn't survive, but I did. And I came out stronger with the realization that I deserved more than a life filled with silence and emotional distance. If you were in my shoes, would you stay in a life that no longer felt like yours? Or would you take a chance to rediscover who you truly are? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective. Life's choices are rarely easy, but they often reveal who we really are.